Alright, if you've been watching my live streams over the past week, you already know how I've made well over 1k gold by simply exploring and gathering in the Janthir Wilds maps. So it's about time I show you exactly what to do, and let's maybe start with a method that will probably get nerfed pretty soon. Right now, I can only assume the drop rate of Mursaat Runestones is bugged. The first few days I wasn't getting that many from lesser, minor or major codon caches, but in the past 3, about 2 out of 3 seem to be dropping one. Getting these is simple. Just run around both maps while pressing your Warclaw 2 skill, which will sniff for treasures and dig them up once you find them. If you want to further optimize, also make sure you equip a Jadebot Treasure Hunter protocol, which will help you see the major caches on the minimap. As I mentioned, I don't think this drop rate is intended, so make sure you always open any caches you unearth, because leaving them in your inventory overnight might mean that you'll lose out on these if ArenaNet fixes this. And I am pretty sure ArenaNet is trying to fix any unintended rewards rather quickly. Last night they already changed how the adventures award renown tokens. Up until yesterday, you could actually run the gliding adventure in the Janthir Sentry, score 10 points, and basically get an infinite supply of tokens to trade in so that you would never have to do any of the hards in that zone. The influx of this many runestones on the trading post has also caused their price to drop below 1 gold. Depending on if and when this gets fixed, this might be an opportunity to load up on them, as they will be used to craft the upcoming legendary spear and backpack. That is of course assuming the drop rate is a bug, because if it isn't, they'll probably drop down to a couple of silver each. Apart from using your Warclaw to sniff out these caches, you can also do 3 daily adventures in the Lowland shores for another guaranteed runestone. The first is a bee jumping puzzle, in which you want to pet beeves, combs and then honey in that order. While their location in the puzzle changes every day, their petting order never does. The second adventure is collecting honey samples north of the Bjorn Thicket, and the final one is the Light Up the Veil adventure that starts near Lamplighter's Purge and ends in Fisher's Spread. All 3 of these are relatively easy, and if you do them once, you probably won't need a guide for the second time around. I will post some resources in the description of this video to help you out with their locations and the route. Lastly, you can also find 4 mythical caches, 3 in the Lowland Shore and 1 in the Janthir Sentry, which are guaranteed to drop another runestone. Their location changes every day, but usually you can find someone in the LFG who has marked their location on the map so that you don't have to look for these yourself. My favorite moneymaker so far has been the honey flowers. At the start of last week, they were selling for around 20 silver each, but have since dropped down to about 11.5. Darren's mentioned he was making about 80 gold per hour when he was farming these, which means that at their current price, you still get a solid 46 gold per hour for an infinitely repeatable farm. Technically, these are on a respawn timer that would prevent you from gathering them too frequently, but like many other nodes in the game, if you map hop to a different IP, you'll get a fresh set. I've worked out a bit of a route that starts at the Astral Ward Moon Camp. From there, you'll want to cover the whole south part of the map by moving in a zigzag pattern, and then cross the river on the eastern side and loop back into the inlet where you fight the Bog Queen. This route, combined with a Glyph of Bounty in my sickle and an item booster active, has netted me around 55 flowers per run. Both the item booster and the glyph are really important for these kinds of farms to be worth it. I have in-depth guides about these, which I'll link in the pinned comment, but basically each one gives you a 33% chance at a bonus strike. That bonus strike itself gives you another 33% chance at another bonus strike, all the way up until those odds drop to near zero. In reality, this means that you'll be getting about 2 to 3 flowers per node, and sometimes even up to 5. Running without either the glyph or the item booster means you'll probably get about half the flowers that I'm getting, which means lower gold per hour of course. On that same route, you'll also come across Lowland pine saplings. Their logs go for around 14 silver and have been holding up a bit more steady on the trading post. Make sure to gather all of those as well, as they've been bumping up the gold I get per run by about 25%. Usually, I recommend placing a Glyph of Volatility in your logging axe, which increases your profit per tree by about 3 silver. But since these logs are worth so much, I've been using another Glyph of Bounty. The second map, the Janthir Sentry, has Rotted Titan Amber and Charged Titan ore nodes, which are also worth gathering, but they will probably make for a lower gold per hour as long as the honeyflower price remains where it's at. The reason being that you're going to get more bonus strikes from flowers than you would get from wood and ore. Don't let this deter you though. If you can't find a fresh IP in the Lowland Shore, switching between both maps is a viable way to get past the 1 hour respawn timer. And if you're gathering Mursaat Runestones, you might as well pick these up for a couple of extra gold per day anyway. If you do not own infinite gathering tools, or you're missing a Glyph of Bounty, do not go out of your way to buy a set. You can get limited use versions from any of the gathering vendors in major cities or premium launches for a little over 7k karma. The mining pick and logging axe will allow you 50 strikes and the sickle 25. consider buying these first, as you'll basically need to gather 9 to 10 stacks of flowers to recoup the cost of a Glyph of Bounty at the current prices. If you've purchased the Deluxe or Ultimate Edition of this expansion, you will also have received a set of infinite gathering tools which can be traded in at a Blackline Exchange Specialist for a set with a Glyph selection container. I would actually advise you against picking up a Glyph of Bounty from these if you do not own the Glyph of Volatility yet. The reason being that the Glyph of Bounty will cost you around 250 gold, whereas a Glyph of Volatility sells for over 700. The latter is actually so overpriced that you're better off converting gold to gems and buying an infinite set with selection containers, as this will not only get you 3 glyphs at a lower cost, but also an infinite set of tools on top. I will also be doing some research later this week on items worth crafting, as the prices for things like Titan Plate gear seem to have settled down. You could probably already make more profit from resources in this video with crafting, but just be careful about the quantity of items you list, as to not get them stuck on a trading post in case the prices change. Next week I'll bring back the week ahead, where I update you all on the best farms and things to craft, and I will be including these new items in that video. But since this video is somewhat of a replacement, I want to thank all of my YouTube members and people who have been supporting me over on Twitch.